Alright YouTubers, what's going on? We are coming back at you with another knife video. We are looking at the new Kizer Critical, the Matthew Christensen Knife Works collaboration with Kizer. And this is a pretty new model. It's been out for a few weeks, I believe. I've been following Matthew Christensen on CK Knife Works on Instagram for a long time, so it's very cool to see him have one of his custom designs turn into a production knife. It's always a good sign for a maker when that can happen. So let's go over the basic specs of this one, guys. We're looking at what I've measured. Now this is actually my measurements from my calipers and such. The handle is just over 5 inches long. Your cutting edge is 3.35, but the blade is I think listed as a 3.5 inch blade. You are looking at a 0.156 thick stock, so it's got a really beefy, thick blade stock. It does taper down to the tip, and it's about 0.58 down here at the tip, so it definitely gets smaller, but it's a very robust tip for this Wharncliffe. You're looking at a handle thickness of 0.46 inches, so it's under a half an inch, which is always a good thing. It is a little wide in the hand, so you're going to look at this is 1.47 inches closed width, so it's pretty wide. That will affect how it carries the pocket a little bit. And your blade is also very wide, so you have not even measuring from here, just from this spot here, you're about at 1.1 inches wide. So pretty wide blade, kind of a wide package altogether when it's all open. So I measured it at 0.0330 behind the edge, so it does have a pretty thinly ground edge, not super thin, but not like overly, but it's definitely more on the thicker behind the edge category in my opinion. So those are some basic specs on the Critical. You're looking at a weight of over 6 ounces, 6.3 ounces for this guy. Pretty hefty knife, especially surprising with the reduction there of the titanium with the holes. I was actually really surprised, but then I got it in hand. I'm like, oh, it's beefy. It's got a big, thick blade. It's got a wide blade. I mean, there's reasons why this knife weighs what it does. They've got it down to a good weight. It would be way heavier if they hadn't done this lightning here. So, one thing I noticed, they did this little pivot collar here. It almost looked like it's mocha-tie, but it's actually just anodized blue with some other colors in there. So that was kind of interesting. I know they did that for looks. Definitely it matches the blue the blue backspacer lanyard attachment here, and then you have the same on the other side. You do have a machined titanium pocket clip, which actually works really well. I like the clip quite a bit. And let me just show you real quick how it carries in the pocket. Get out the old jeans here. Try not to bump the freaking tripod. It actually carries very deep, as you can see. But you have a decent amount. I guess it's not very deep. You have a good amount of knife hanging out, and this is a good way to grab the knife here by that lanyard attachment. So, but the clip works well. It's well designed. It's not too stiff. It has some. Oh my gosh. Oh, you think I would not hit that after so many times, but I always do, at least once. So I like the clip quite a bit on it. So let's go over what I like about this knife. It's got good ergonomics. The handle is very comfortable in the hand, both left and right-handed grips, both in the traditional grip, your reverse grip. We'll talk about this here in a second. This is kind of a sharp edge here, our sharp point. It feels good in the reverse grip. It could be better though because of the way the backspacer is designed. We'll go over that here in a minute though. So the ergonomics are fantastic. They're nice. It's comfortable in cutting. Has a nice that Wharncliffe blade shape, good for EDC tasks. So it's definitely got good ergonomics going on for it. The action is good. It's smooth. It's not like, at least this D10 is pretty light, I would say. It's a good flipper, but not like a great flipper. But that could just be this version of the knife. Now, that's interesting to me too because it's such a heavy blade, a big blade. You think they would have dialed in the D10 a little firmer, but it flips just fine. I mean, I don't have any problems flipping the knife. That is the only way to open the knife because the D10 is too strong to use your thumb. So you've just got a flipper action. So the action is smooth and good. Kizer does make a good flipper. I feel like the detent could be a titch stronger, but that's going to vary from knife to knife. So your fit and finish on this knife is very good. You got a really, the whole blade is stonewash, which is kind of different. Sometimes you see the stonewash flats, satin grinds, this kind of thing. Got a nice swedge here. You can see from the top down how it thins the blade out a little bit right there. So I like that swedge quite a bit. I like how the jimping up here is nice. It works well. It's not overly aggressive, but it definitely holds your finger in, so the jimping's well done. And how the blade, it's just a really sharp Wharncliffe. Reminds me of the ZT 392 and then the Hinder Wharncliffes. Very similar, but a wider and beefier blade, I think. So it's a little more built for hard use, I think, than some of those other Wharncliffes we mentioned. So, but the fit and finish is good. The titanium has sort of a milled finish to it. If you look really closely, you can see some mill lines, which is kind of cool. Usually Kizer just gives you that typical gray titanium finish. I'm just trying to look at that, if that's what it is, or if I'm just seeing things. No. Definitely little mill marks on there, which is cool. Very, very subtle. I like the lightning holes look great. They did a great job on though. There's no sharp edges in these. I mean, just sticking my finger in there. There's no sharp edges as far as the fit and finish is concerned. It's comfortable here in the hand. It's comfortable to disengage the lock. So good fit and finish on this one. No issues or things I can think of on the grind. Looks to be nice and even. So fit and finish is solid on this. I already went over the pocket clip, so I won't talk about that, but it is good. The value is pretty solid. It's $200 for this knife. I think I got it for $203 or $208 or something like that. So you get S35 yen steel, which I don't think I talked about. But you get it's a good sized blade. It's a pretty large blade actually. 5-inch handle is pretty big. Let's do some size comparisons. One I recently, the O0055 is very, very similar in length, as you can see there. Real Steel Megalodon 2017 is also going to be very close in length, almost identical. So pretty big knives. Let's show you some smaller knives. Here's the Custom Knife Factory Gavco spinner, quite a bit smaller in the handle, and then the Booz Blade Smoke TS1 makes this knife look teeny. It's just because it's so thin. This knife looks huge compared to it. So there's a few size comparisons for you. Okay, so what don't I like about the knife? Again, this is my initial review, kind of first impressions, but it's heavy. I mean, it's big. It's a little bit larger than I would normally carry. Now, I knew that buying it, so it's not really a negative thing about this knife, but it's a big, substantial knife. For a typical everyday EDC carry knife, it might be, for me anyways, a little large. A little heavy and a little large. It's definitely a beastly folder, and nothing wrong with that. That's how it was designed. So, but those are some kind of negatives. A little thick behind the edge, and it's very wide in the pocket. Compared to some other knives, and like this Megalodon is so much skinnier. It takes way less real estate, but you get quite a bit. You get the same amount of blade. Actually, maybe even give them a little bit more blade on that one. So just one comparison there. The lanyard attachment is not my favorite. It looks good, but it has a sharp edge right here, and that jimping is nice in the reverse grip, but then the way, for my hands anyway, when I hold it like this, it's just I'm holding it right on that tip, and it's just not comfortable. It's a sharp point at the end of the knife that you're gonna feel in your hand when you're doing a lot of cutting. Now, if you're choked up on the grip right up to the finger choil, you're gonna be fine. I don't think you're gonna feel that. But if you have big hands and this is gonna be digging in your palm, I've already felt it a few times, and like I said, especially does not work in this way. So, not a huge fan of the backspacer / lanyard hole. Kind of wish they would have just rounded off that, put a hole there, and just had that as the backspacer, but rounded off the titanium. I think that would have worked a lot better. So that's one negative I've already noticed from my short time with this knife. So other than that, it's solid. I like the design quite a bit. It's mean looking. It's just kind of a beastly, like I said, blade. And execution by Kizer is really well done. no doubt about it. So, but that's my kind of my first impressions of the Kizer Critical, guys. Any questions or comments, leave them down below, and we'll see you in the next video.